pal. Welcome to my WWE Day 1 review. I am running off like 2 hours sleep for the second day in a row, so this is going to be interesting to see if I can actually make sense using words, put words into an order that means something to you listening. This should be interesting. Right, to kick things off, obviously the card subject to change has never been more true. We were supposed to have Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, but it was announced, Reigns announced it on his Twitter originally, but it was announced on the pre-show, the kickoff show, whatever they call it, that for the same reason, basically. They didn't even try and kayfabe it, which is good. They've tried to kayfabe the way around a lot of this COVID stuff, and I think it's just better to be straight up with your fans. Reigns has COVID. It's tested positive, so he wasn't able to compete. So they took Brock Lesnar and put him into the Fatal 4-Way, making it a Fatal 5-Way for the WWE Championship. For whatever reason. We'll come to that. But yeah, so they announced it on the kickoff show, and I think at the start of the main show as well, that Reigns wouldn't be able to defend the Universal Championship. Anyway, there was one match on the pre-show. We'll skip all the gubbins where they were chatting. That was all annoying and boring, as it usually is. But there was a match. It was Sheamus and Richholland versus Cesaro and Ricochet. Well, I say it was Sheamus and Richholland. Most of the match was a handicap match with just Sheamus out there, because Richholland got his face landed on by Ricochet's entire body weight via his foot. So Ricochet and Cesaro attempted like an assisted 450 splash, where like Cesaro grabbed Ricochet's leg and flung him round, and Ricochet did a standing 450. It didn't go quite right. Ricochet ended up standing on Richholland's face, and he ended up getting taken to the back and wasn't seen for the rest of the match. One thing that did tickle me is Michael Cole announced it on commentary as Richholland is being treated for what they are calling a broken nose, as if that was like a weird term that he'd never heard before. It's like, it's a broken nose. Like, you don't have to say what they are calling a broken nose, you know, like with air quotes, because it was just like, no, it's just they're treating him for a broken nose. Like, that's a thing. People know what it is. People understand the term broken nose. It's not an alien term that no one's going to understand. But yeah, it just tickled me how he said that. But yeah, anyway, so Richholland had a broken nose, or what they are calling a broken nose. But Sheamus still won, and won clean as well. And personally, in that scenario, I would have sent a message through to the ring to flip the result, because that just makes it just makes Sheamus no, it doesn't. It makes Cesaro and Ricochet look really weak, like, and also makes Richholland look a bit unnecessary. And it wasn't such a dominant display that it made Sheamus look great. It basically took Ricochet out on the outside and then beat Sheamus in a one-on-one match with a bro kick. You know, it didn't make him look amazing. It just made everyone else look a bit pitiful. So no one really benefited from this. Except me. I predicted Sheamus and Richholland to win, so technically I was right. 1 from 1, baby. Yeah, I predicted this one correctly. Tick that one off. And then I promptly fell asleep during the Usos vs New Day. So actually, I tell a lie, I haven't included that maybe hour and a half of sleep I had at the start of day 1 in my sleep, but I lost it off the end, so, you know, oh well. But yeah, I rewatched Usos vs New Day once I was done with the show, and me falling asleep during it was no comment on the quality of the match. It's just, you know, I'm really tired at the moment, guys. So I put here, it's always a fun match, Usos New Day, and I think I put on Twitter that it sort of suffers a bit from not standing out if they put on a really good match, because they always put on a really good match, so it doesn't surprise anyone anymore, so people don't talk about it. It was a really good choice for the opener, because, you know, it was up tempo, it was fast paced, it was, you know, exciting. It was a good match. The Usos won with a 3D, which I don't know if he was directed to shoehorn this name in or if he just came up with it on the spot. But Pat McAfee was calling it the 1D, the one and done. Don't know if that's going to be the official name or if that was just him sort of flapping his gums. But yeah, it won with a 3D, which surprised me. It was interesting. I actually predicted New Day to win, but if you watched my predictions video, you'll know how uncertain I was. And to be honest, when the Usos retained, I wasn't even a little bit surprised. Honestly, I was just a bit like, yeah, you should have just predicted the obvious retain. Like, you know, but I wanted to predict something interesting to happen, and I didn't have the benefit of knowing that the card was going to change massively mere hours before the show. So, yeah, I predicted New Day. Usos won. Really, I don't actually know why I predicted New Day. Like, I didn't really think they were necessarily going to win. Or the Usos were definitely going to lose. I just figured they were going to do some sort of title change on the show, and I figured that was the most likely. How wrong I was. Anyway, so that's 1 from 2. I slept through the Drew McIntyre Madcap Moss match, but when I watched that back at the end again, that was... I say watched. You know, I was pretty tired by that point, and I was like faffing on my phone. My ADD was going into overdrive because I was exhausted. But the bits I did see, it seemed a lot more even than I was expecting. Like, Moss got a good showing in there, I think, against Drew. Drew obviously won. Like, that was never in doubt. But yeah, it went longer than I expected it to, honestly. But not much more to say about that one, except that now I'm 2 out of 3. I predicted Drew, as I hope everyone in the world predicted Drew to win that one. Like, did anyone really think Madcap Moss was going to win? Let me know if you did in the comment section down below. I won't mock you too hard. But no, I just thought that was super obvious. Drew is on a different level to Madcap Moss. Madcap Moss is obviously being fed to Drew before he gets into his boss fight with Happy Carbon, who will also probably be fed to Drew. Spoilers. Up next was the match I woke up during, so I saw most of this one. This was RK Bro defending the Raw Tag Team Championships against the Street Profits. There was a bit of a bit more edge to this match. Not you know, the wrestler who's fighting the Miz, but a bit more like snappiness to the match. You know, like there was some. It wasn't a respectful face versus face, good old classic tag team match that I expected. There's some good old-fashioned Randy Orton eye pokes, and the Street Profits were talking trash, and even Riddle was getting into it at one point. Randy Orton was super orange. Like, do you remember the adverts, you know when you've been tangoed? Yeah. It was like nearly 2009 levels of orange for himself. Like, it was almost like his personal best, you know, most orange award. But, yeah, other than how orange Orton was, it was okay. It was not as good as the Usos, the New Day, but it was probably never going to be because they're magic together, and you know it's hard to beat magic. Magic's great, but what we're talking about. So they actually won with an assisted RKO. Like Riddle popped up. I think it was Ford, but I can't actually remember which one they did it to now because again, very tired. But he basically like pushed them up in, like as if doing like a back body drop, but without flipping them over, like a push up in the air, like let them drop face first flapjack. But they were running at Orton when he did it, so he obviously caught them into the RKO. It was kind of cool, but we've seen so many really cool RKO variants that was just a bit like, that was okay. Migos celebrated with them. Whoever the hell Migos are, I'm just showing how out of touch I am with the world. I literally have never heard of these people. Apparently they're like the biggest rap group in the world, and I've literally never even heard the name before. I'm not trying to imply they're not a big deal. I'm very much coming at this from this point of view. I have no clue who anyone is anymore in like pop culture. So apologies, Migos. I'm sure you're devastated that I hadn't heard of you before this. Or maybe you're not, because like the point of you coming on, I suppose, was exposure. So happy days. I haven't listened to any of the music though, so has it really helped? Who knows? Anyway, the Street Profits ended up joining in the post-match celebration, so the babyface dynamic was resumed. No one like permanently turned or anything in this match. But yeah, and it went on for like an awkwardly long amount of time. They just kept the cameras on the ring and they all just stood around like, right, we've kind of done everything now. We've raised our arms, we've raised each other's arms, we've shook hands, we've pointed at them while they're holding the titles. Like there was a point where I think it was Dawkins was just like pointing both his fingers at Randy Orton, like, yeah, this guy. It's just like everyone's clearly run out of ideas now for what to do. And they still got the camera on the ring. This is awkward. Then Drew McIntyre had a brief interview, which is when I actually found out that he beat Madcap Moss, because obviously I slept through the match, but I was awake for the interview. He got attacked by Moss and Happy Corbin. They put the folding chair on the neck, and then Corbin hit the chair with what looked like a piece of lighting rig or scaffolding, like it was like metal trellis, and it was like whack. Hit the chair. Obviously, the idea is he crushed the larynx. You know, I did notice Bayley tweeted out something about Sasha Banks getting flashbacks, which I thought was funny because obviously she did that to Sasha Banks back in the Empty Arena era, didn't she? And then Sasha Banks came back like a week later for some reason. Which Drew will probably be back like this week. You know, like they don't enforce selling of injuries anymore. They're just like, oh yeah, that happened. Your injury is that you're a bit annoyed. But, yeah, maybe they'll keep him out and for a couple of weeks and bring him back nearer the Rumble. Who knows? We had a Bianca Belair video package. My literal only note on this, because I've kept notes on my phone because I knew I wouldn't remember everything because tired. But my only note on this was the shrugging emoji. Like, I don't care about video packages for promoting wrestlers on pay-per-views, especially not known ones. It's not like she's new. She's a former women's champion. I know they're trying to build her back up, but give her a feud and a match on the pay-per-view. If you want to build her up, you know, like Edge and Miz can have a non-title match on the pay-per-view, but two women can't, you know. It just feels a bit dumb. So I was just like, what is this, an episode of Raw? Like, who cares? Like, about video packages on pay-per-views. It's just dumb, in my opinion. Next, we had a Brock Lesnar interview. It was short and sweet. It was pretty fun, though. He did an impression of Paul Heyman doing the "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brock Lesnar," and then I can't remember what he said after that, but then he said that it wasn't a prediction, it was a spoiler that he was going to win the WWE title. Really wish they'd stop using that line because it legit always is an actual spoiler. It's actually always accurate, I'm pretty sure. Can anyone remember a time that Paul Heyman or Brock Lesnar have used the "that's not a prediction, it's a spoiler" line, and it's actually not come true? Because I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm like, stop doing it, I don't want to know the result ahead of time. It's like a shoot spoiler. It's not even a kayfabe spoiler, it's a shoot spoiler. Up next was an actual wrestling match, which was fun after 3 segments in a row, one of which was a video package for some reason. Edge versus Miz. This was, I put underwhelming. It eventually picked up towards the end, but the fans didn't seem super into it. They weren't super vocal or anything. The Brood entrance, I feel like they've already overplayed the Brood Edge thing. Like, and I know they've not done it that much, but I feel like it was special as like a one-off. Emphasis on the one-off bit of that. The one is the important section here. It's not a 2-off, it's a 1-off because you do it once. And the fact that they've already done it twice, it's like, I don't know. And I love that music. I loved the Brood, like, I loved the aesthetic. I thought it looked cool, but I instantly just thought, oh, you're doing this again. Like, I don't know if that's just me being tired and cynical, but yeah, I was just like, you're doing this again already? Like, you've only just done this with Seth. Like, it's not new. It's not interesting. But anyway, yeah, I felt like maybe there was a bit of a lack of chemistry between Edge and Miz. They didn't seem to gel real well, because both men were capable of putting on great matches, and I just didn't think this was it at all. And like I said before, the fans were sitting on their hands for most of this. Like, they didn't seem into it either. So I don't think it was just me. Miz really needs to stop doing the figure 4. It's just bad. It's not bad. It's not like booably, heelishly bad. It's just you sort of cringe a bit when he does it because he's so bad at applying it. And it's like all you have to do is spin on one foot basically and then lie down. How are you bad at this still? But yeah, so I just wish he'd stop doing the figure 4. That's a note I made. So not the finish, but sort of like a false finish was Maurice hit Edge with her purse, handbag, whatever, like somewhere in between the two. It was a small handbag or a really big purse, put it that way. And then he like stumbled into a skull-crushing finale, but he kicked out. And then Beth Phoenix walked out onto the stage, looking pretty cool. Like, had her hair done like warrior-ishly. Like, no, I don't mean Ultimate Warrior. I mean like kind of like Aloy from whatever that game's called. That's just, I had the name of the game in my head when I started that sentence, and it's just vanished. It is just vanished out of my head. Horizon Zero Dawn. Is that the right one? I hope so. Otherwise, I'm gonna sound pretty stupid. But yeah, she had like her hair done fancy, but like in like a old school female warrior kind of way. And she comes out on stage and stands there staring, scowling, and everyone goes mad and they put the camera on her and she stands there and she stands there. And then she stood there and then she stood there. And then her music hit and then she started marching down to the ring. And I was like, seemed weird because it seemed deliberate. It didn't seem like a production error. It seemed deliberate. And why, when your husband is being beaten up by a man and his wife, and you're there to even the odds and take care of the wife, would you stand and stare at them for a bit instead of getting involved? Because you need your music to play when everyone's already seen you, and even on TV they've already cut the camera to you. You're already doing your scowl. You know you're on TV. Like it just came across really janky. It was like, if they instructed her to do it that way, it was stupid. If it was a production error, she should have improvised and just gone regardless of her music starting. Like, what are they going to do? Sack her? She doesn't work there anyway. Edge is earning enough money for both of them. Like, she can get a job doing something else. She's famous, you know. She could go to pretty much any wrestling promotion and do some sort of job somewhere. You know, it's just like, why play it out badly? Yeah, you know. But anyway, yeah, she approached the ring. I can't remember exactly how it led into it. I think it was just a distraction. I think she chased Maurice off. I don't think she actually put hands on Maurice. But Miz was distracted. Turned around, spear, bam, finish. I predicted Edge. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. I genuinely, during the handbag skull crushing finale spot, thought for a split second, oh, did I get this one wrong? So they got me a little bit with the false finish, so kudos for that. But yeah, Edge won. And I don't know if I've mentioned the score in a while, 4 from 5 at this point. Only the Usos match, which realistically I did know. I just predicted it the other way for some strange reason. But I was 4 out of 5 at this point, which is lovely. Up next was the Raw Women's Championship match. It was lovely. Between Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. My first observation of this was, and it started far too early in the match, Becky Lynch was really cartoonishly worried. Like, I almost expected her to, you know, like in a cartoon when a character's nervous and they start biting the nails and they're doing it like it's like a corn on the cob, they're going across it, like, and nails are flying everywhere. It almost got to that level of, like, cartoonish. And it was from like 2 minutes into the match or something, it felt like. So it was like, you shouldn't be really expecting to have beaten her yet. She went longer than this in the match on Raw. Like, you shouldn't be surprised she's lasted this long because she's lasted this long with you before. You know, like, once she gets past that point, then start hamming it up as, oh no, what if I can't beat her this time? Fair enough. But it just felt like it started really early. But that was my only, like, real complaint about the match. I wrote Liv came out of this looking better than she went in. Like, despite, you can look strong in defeat. Not every defeat is a burial. You know, I know people love to throw around the term buried just when someone loses a single wrestling match. But, no, this match was a good example of how you can lose a match but be elevated by it. And she really was. She looked a lot closer to on Becky's level than she ever has in any match, including the previous one against Becky, but including any not against Becky. This was probably her best performance. So kudos to both. I was going to say to Liv, but to both women. It takes two to tango, you know. The rest of the match is a collaborative effort, so fair play to them. The finish was kind of cool. So Liv's finisher is that, they call it Oblivion, which I like fun pun names of finishes like that, having Liv in the middle of it, very nice. Where she like slingshots her bum off the middle rope when someone's leaning on it and like reverse STOs them. So kind of like falls backwards and drags them face first with her. Which she went for, she bounced, but Becky caught her, kept on the rope and just sort of slammed her down. It was like the manhandle slam, but not really. But we got the idea, and it was a creative finish, so fair enough. And it was better than rolling her up and holding onto the ropes while you sit on her. So, yeah, all in all, pretty decent match. Job well done in terms of the aim of the match was to keep the title on Becky but elevate Liv, and they did both very well. And I'm 5 from 6 because I predicted Becky to win. I'm predicting Becky to carry that title into Mania or lose it just before so that she challenges in the rematch at Mania. She'll be in the title match at Mania is what I'm getting at. And finally, the WWE Championship match. Big E, Bobby Lashley, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and the newly added Brock Lesnar. It was a wild match. It was fast paced. Like apparently someone tweeted about like that it was 15 minutes. I genuinely thought it was about 5 minutes because it was so frantic. It felt really short. Not a fan of the result. I'm a big fan of this Brock Lesnar. This happy, chilled out, laughing farmer Brock is great fun. But he doesn't need the title. And he... I get they probably already paid him for the appearance or something. But I don't know how his contract works. Like, he just wasn't needed here, and they changed whatever the plans were to shoehorn the belt back onto Brock, which, as much as a lot of people are really enjoying Brock, I don't think anyone wants to see him with the belt, because again, he's part-time, and we enjoy having a WWE title match every pay-per-view. Now, there's a chance he loses it soon, or at least appears at every pay-per-view until Mania and loses it there, or something along those lines, so it might not be such a bad thing, but I'm still just not a fan of it. Like, we've done the Brock Lesnar with the title experiment, part-time with the title experiment to death, and it's never been great. And also, now this is the second New Day member who's won the WWE title, then been unceremoniously fed to Brock Lesnar. I think it only took one F5, right, on Big E? Could have at least given him a kick out or something. Maybe they did. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. Because, like I say, very tired and very ADD when I'm tired. So maybe I missed something. But, yeah, that match seemed to be over in the blink of an eye, so I may have even dozed off for, like, the middle 5 minutes or something, if I'm honest, because I do not remember 15 minutes worth of match there. Yeah, I mean, technically, I'm 5 out of 7 on predictions, but how are you supposed to do a prediction for someone who's not in the match when you're doing the predictions? I feel like I was at a disadvantage there. But it was funny because I pointed out to someone on Twitter after the match, because they were saying, like, why change all the plans? WWE love to do that. If they have to change plans, if they have to find a last-minute replacement or a last-minute addition, in this case, to a match, they nearly always win, especially if it's a title match. And it's like, so you had all these plans laid out, but because you had to change the plans slightly, you had to put air in one of your tyres on your car. So what you did was you went around and slashed all your tyres, and then took it to the garage and replaced all of your tyres, and also your brake pads just for good measure. When really what you could have done is just pumped up the tyre and just carried on. Like, in that analogy. Even if they wanted to add Brock, all they had to do was the same finish they already had planned. Have everyone gang up on Brock, take him out, do the finish you had planned. Like, why not? What would have been wrong with doing that? Brock's not taking a loss. Brock doesn't look bad for it. Takes 4 people to keep him down for a bit. I don't know. Not a fan of the old swerve for the sake of a swerve. It does very much feel like they do it to swerve people that make predictions. In the sense that it feels very much no one will see them winning coming, though, because, they'll assume we had plans. More fool them, they assumed we had plans. We hadn't planned out Raw yet. Ha ha ha. What fools thinking we're good at our job in creative. No one thinks that, WWE, don't worry. It was a bit of a sour ending to what was overall a decent enough show. The opener was really good. The women's match was good, like borderline great. Edge Miz was disappointing. The WWE title match would have been better without Brock in it, because I'm sure they would have gone longer and had a more interesting finish. I don't know what the original plan would have been, but I think it would have been better than that. Drew Moss was deceptively competitive, which can't complain about. And the right person still won. They didn't bother putting over the person, like with the win. They just put him over with a good performance. Same as Liv. Madcap Moss and Liv Morgan got the same treatment on this show. They kept up with someone that maybe they didn't have any business keeping up with and still lost. And that just made them both look better without stretching believability, which is good. The RK Bros Street Profits match was fine, like no problem with that at all. It was a good match. Overall, decent start to the year for WWE, with a bit of a sour ending. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the show, what you agreed with that I said, what you disagreed with, etc., how your predictions went. Obviously, with no need for evidence, everyone will have got 7 out of 7, I'm sure. But, yeah, you do you if you want to lie about making predictions on a YouTube channel. Whatever. But yeah, let me know in the comments how it went for you and how you enjoyed the show. Leave a like if you enjoyed this review. And just I'd love to see a few thumbs up happen, and it was worthwhile staying up then and being absolutely knackered now. So, yes, that would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you're new here. But for now, all I have left to say is thank you very much for watching or listening or whatever. As always, I've been Ebeza, you've been amazing, and I will see you next time.